Hey guys. Hey Poppy. Hope you're doing good. Recovering. Got the power back on, all that stuff. Anyone else in the States who's had electricity issues? Hope that's sorted. Hey Mike from Cornwall. Maddie. Mark Osborne. Cam, good to see you. Congratulations on the finished build. Looks great, works great, really impressed. Go and check out Cam at Battler. He's just made a slotted attachment for the lathe. Kevin, g'day. Letter on the way to you today. Hi, Adam. Tommy, g'day. John Creasy, g'day. Gosh, mixed crowd there. Anyone else is watching, g'day. Hello from Australia to Denmark. Thomas, g'day. Didn't quite get to 100 parts, I don't think, Cam, but it's a pretty good build and it's well worth the look. Don't know if there's much. Oh, David, g'day. Don't know if there's much. Did I misspell the stupid thumbnail? You will be impressed that this is the second time in a row that I've ever had a thumbnail on my live stream. So don't ask for too much, but we did get it up, which I'm really pleased about. Might try and continue with that. So what's happened this week? This place looks like Gillian Jiggs' bedroom, to be honest. It's a crazy mess. But I've had a pretty big weekend. Finished that pattern right up to the varnish. And that's in the mail to Clark, who's going to use it at the Good of the Land Festival. There'll be a video up about that a bit later on. That's up. There also I've filmed some bits for a video on the dividing head, which I actually used this week, which I'm pretty impressed about. There's a video up about this on Patreon, which also means that there's a video up about Kenny, which is my little traction engine, if you're following that. Which is very close to finished in the video series. It's quite some time ago. But videos have been on Patreon and now they're going to YouTube. So this is the little stationary engine. It's pretty sweet. It's a little bit dusty at the moment. Could do with a clean. Might get that now I've had it out and had a look. But pretty awesome build. Really pleased with that. I'm just looking, it's 12 months since I started the canopy. So that's how far behind the YouTube videos are from Patreon. If you want to catch up, I think there's about 20 videos or something between where we are here and where we are here. Go check it out. Anyway, that's enough of the plug. Anyway, that's just go and check out the engine videos because this is a pretty nice little build and we're getting through it. Put this up there for a minute. Thanks, Matt. And thanks, Mike. Hi, Chris. Now, Adam, subscriber count, it's had a bit of a jump the last month. So, yeah, it's up a bit. But that's awesome. Keep them coming. Really appreciate that. What have I done this week? Got the pattern done. Got it sent away. It looks great. Rustin Ox, good to see you. I've been messing with this, which is actually bigger than it looks on paper. It's a fairly solid little engine. Like, it really is. It's big. Quite a job, but we've got the crankshaft in, which we're a bit impressed about. Hi, Darren. I think we might have the flywheel on back to front. No, that's right. But we've got, this is just sitting on there. We've got the two holes here bored for the camshaft here and the crank. We've got this crank nicely polished. It's pre-hard 4140. Take that out. It's got a gear on it, which is 0.8 module. It's integral with the shaft. And that's pressed on there with a Scotch key. So that's not coming out. I'm pretty happy with that. Still not sure about the spacing here. We might need to take a bit off or put a bit on it. There we go. Just to get the length of the piston rod right, but I think it's not bad. But seriously, this is heavy. It's getting too heavy when it's all together for me to lift it. So it's kind of a crazy big engine. I've had a bit of a think about this. This has got a key in it, which is just a plastic key. And it's given us a bit of wobble, which I don't like. It's just a fraction. Try not to do that with flywheels. So I've decided that I'm going to just put a key all the way through and put a grub screw in it to hold it down. That's where I'm at with that. I think that's probably the best way to get a secure flywheel that's not going to run down the hill through a window or something when the thing gets up to speed. Hi, Brendan. Good to see you. So this is a 3/4 scale model of the Stuart 400, which must have been a pretty serious little engine, full size. Never seen one, but seriously, 3/4 size is about 14 inches long, and you got what, 8-inch, 9-inch flywheel, something like that, and 1 3/4 bore. This one's got to come out. That's the next job on this, is to bore this, which has got to be 33 mil, 1 5/16, something like that, wherever it ends up, to be honest. Couldn't get commercial rings on either side, so probably it'll be bore it out till it's a good finish, and I'm nervous about taking it any further, which is generally the way I do things. Spent a bit of time, and a few people have been sort of wondering about this, I guess. I spent a bit of time just checking these two reference surfaces, which is where the push rod goes, actually. But they're reference surfaces for the main body and for the crank. And I've set this up on the surface plate with some 1 2 3 blocks and a square and scribing block and stuff. The crankshaft's beautiful and square both ways. Really impressed with that. These seem pretty good too. They're within about 2 thou, which I'm really happy about. Everything seems to be right. So if we set this up on this contact here, bolt it down on the mill and set this up probably on a fence or with a square even, then we can bore this here, and hopefully that's the last crazy big operation to do on this before we start making small parts. Anyway, that's the Stuart 400 so far. It's a pretty crazy project, and I'm beginning to think, gosh, what did I get myself into? Because this video series on Patreon is now on video 14, something like that. The next one I'm editing at the moment. And we haven't really done much. We've machined a few surfaces. We've got some castings done. And we've made a set of patterns. So it's a fairly in-depth series. I think I'm trying to keep the videos a bit short. But if you're interested, go and check it out. And thanks to everyone who does. That's really awesome. Rephrase that, Chris. I'm not sure what you mean there. This engine doesn't really have a name. I'm calling it the 400. It's very difficult. The history is a bit sketchy. This was released by the time Mr. Stuart Turner himself had retired to South America. I think he went. So this engine really probably wasn't designed by Stuart Turner himself, and it might have been one of the reasons it wasn't successful. The other reason is that it's just huge. It was designed as a workshop engine, and this engine was built to run a lathe or even a little dynamo for electric light or an electric machine, to provide a power source for vets coming back from World War I in a time when no one had mains electricity. However, in the middle of the Depression, it would have been impossible to sell this when you could have spent the same money and got electricity on, I believe. So there's not many of them around, but it's a pushrod engine, it's a gas engine. It runs on LPG or mains gas, and it's throttle governed, so there's no real governor on it. It's just controlling the gas. It's a fairly simple thing. Whether that's any of those things might happen. A hit and miss governor would work if you run it on petrol, but probably not on gas. I think it's going to be gas. I'm not sure whether it's going to be spark ignition or whether it's going to be hot tube. I kind of like the look of the hot tube, but I'm not sure if I'm good enough to get that going. Yeah, Chris, it was a big job. I put 250 hours into the patterns, which is crazy. There's this one. There's this one. I didn't do the flywheel pattern. Cam did do me one, and that's for the next project probably. I've got ideas for that. Thanks, Cam. And there's a piston, there's a head, valve plate, and a piston, I think, are the other castings. And then there needs to be a manifold and some pipe fittings, things like that. So they'll all be in bronze or brass. Kevin, pistons cast iron. I've got two of them cast. I've got an aluminium one I cast here, and I've cast an iron piston, or I've had an iron piston. I'm not real confident about it at the moment, and I've talked to Clark about it, and I believe he's casting me another one, which would be really nice. I think there's some chill in the casting because it's quite thin wall. It needs a little something. It needs to be put in a mold with a fairly serious big casting, so that it cools slowly, so that the iron's nice and soft to machine. That's what all of this needs, is basically volume in the mold so that it cools. The other thing that I've learned about this, and I've learned a lot about pattern making here, especially machining the castings, but nice fillets on the insides of all these castings are a really good thing. And if you don't think you've got enough, or you think you've got enough, put a bit more on, really. Because, hey Raymond, because turbulence in the mold will disturb sand, and then you end up with sand, and I ended up with a speck of sand in the end of this bearing, which was problems. We fixed that. And I know that there's a bit of sand wash out in here, which they were like machining diamond, really. It was basically sand. So grinding was the only way to fix that. But apart from that, everything's nice cast iron. And if I did this a second time round, there would be some changes in the pattern making. RPM, Maddie. I'm thinking that this is going to be flat out about 450 or 500 RPM. It may not even get that far. We'll see how we are with balance and stuff. But there's a fair bit of inertia in this, and I reckon anything faster than that, this thing is going to walk or shake the place to bits or shake itself to bits or something. So I'm thinking 350, 400 RPM. That's about where I'm at with that. We will be talking about that book and what you've got, Chris. Very interested. Speaking of books, there's been some discussion about this. If you get a chance to buy this, or find it, or pinch it out of a library, or borrow it off someone's shelf, this is a really good read. It's written by Lyle Cummins, who wrote several books, actually. Lyle was the managing director at the time of Cummins Engines, and he wrote this as a reference book. I'm going to say that it's a reference book, but it's quite readable. You can sit down and read this. Start to finish. But it starts off with Savory and Ravaz in 1670 and goes right through just about anyone who built a heat engine in the preceding 400 or 500 years. Flame ignition systems, hot tube ignitions, all that stuff. It's a good book, and if you want to, Benz carriages and motors, Daimler's machines, well written, great book. If you've got nothing to do and you're looking for something to read, this is a really good book. His book Diesel's Odyssey, which is about building a diesel engine that could go in a moving vehicle, is pretty awesome too. It's a book about his father, Clessy Cummins, who founded Cummins Engines. Anyway, good book. If you're interested in early petrol engines, I really like this. It's a fun book to read, and I'm probably going to read it again fairly soon. But I thought someone asked about that, so I thought, well, I'll put that on there, and someone might be interested in a look. What else? What else? Little Woodwork Vice is nearly finished, going back together. Hopefully this next weekend. I don't know. We'll see how we're going for time. It seemed like I've really had a pretty hard sort of a weekend. I've worked pretty hard. I've got this in. I've got the pattern finished. Hopefully Clark will have that probably Monday, Tuesday. And he can do a test car pour on that with his home furnace before he takes it away to do it. So that's on its way. I don't know. Anyone got any questions? There's million things you must want to know. I personally can't guarantee I'm going to give you a decent answer on any of them, but if you've got anything, it's a good time to do it. I'm going to, Android is in transit. It's on its way. I'm going to shout out to Stefan Gottswinter, who spent an inordinate amount of time giving me a hand with these gears. So here's the reason they turned out so nice. That's the way. How's the mill going? The mill's going really good. It's worked pretty hard all weekend. Cut these gears on the mill with my dividing head. Was really impressed about that. Still got to cut the other gear, which is the camshaft gear. That's probably something I go ahead and do, but I'm not going to until I get this bored. Will be the next thing on this. Now, how am I going to bore the cylinder? I'm going to clamp it down in a big horizontal mill on the table, and we're going to get a boring head and we're going to run right through it and back. As simple as that. I'm not going to do it in my milling machine. I can't do it in my lathe. A lot of people said let's do it on the saddle, and that's okay, but I've got a very basic plain turning lathe, if you're familiar with German precision lathes, and the saddle doesn't move backwards and forwards, so I can't turn it between centers. There's no way to do that, really. It would probably fit, but it's not going to be a rigid setup if it did, and there's no way of moving it backwards and forwards. A boring bar that feeds backwards and forwards between centers might be with a sliding piece on it, might be a fun thing to build one day, but at this point I've got no way of holding it down anyway. I'm going to go borrow a friend's mill and just run this through start to finish, set it up off these two pads, and then that should be done. We'll run a brake hone or a bottle brush hone through there afterwards. Hey JB. Chris, yeah, filmed all the gear work. That'll be up on Patreon before too long. Probably next weekend. I actually got about 3/4 of the way through editing the video and the computer crashed, and I don't think it saved the last half of the editing work. So I'm going to go back and do that. It's always second better time round. I think there's a little steam engine running flat out at the very start. Yeah. This is the other engine from this series. Which is probably even dustier than the other one. This is a nice little engine. It's the same one in the series as Kenny. It's out of the same book. And I built this a few years ago. My castings, I did this casting. This is it's the same part, so there we go. That's a nice little engine. This has a burner like this, which is just a metho burner. Kenny, someone asked about Kenny's burner. This is what I ended up doing. This is pretty good. That's what I've got. That's the burner that's in the book, and that works really well. The boilers that are making one for Chirpy, I haven't got to a burner yet. I'm really a bit slack about that, but at some point there'll be an update and a video about that too, but it hasn't happened yet. Hi, John. Hey, JB, doing the tourist thing in Sydney. Catch up with Adam. He's a great guy. He's probably really dirty. Last time I saw him, he looked like a Smurf. Hi, Max. So that's really the updates. No progress on the steady. I might actually get in and fix the base on that at some point when I've got a spare minute. But there's a million projects happening here, so don't rush me. Bear Small Engines, good to see you. Anyway, that's about where we're at with that. That's what's happened this weekend. We've got some crazy projects happening here. I'm really a bit impressed with some of these machines sitting here on the bench. 3 major construction projects. I did this on YouTube about 2.5 years ago. If you want to build one, 3 years maybe. If you want to build one, the old series is there. It's pretty low tech sort of video gear, and it's really not a particularly good series. But it's there, and all the videos are there. So I think there's about 16 or 18 parts. I'm building that. This one we're up to part 18 or 19 or something. This is nearly finished on YouTube. So when I get a video going for this, I put that on Patreon, and then this one comes on YouTube. So expect this to be finished within about 6 weeks, I would say, a month. And then we'll start releasing the videos on this, which is a few videos back. Anyway, that's how it works. Pretty cool engines. I wish I'd thought of it sooner. We could probably give something a run, and I probably should do it. Maybe next week we'll give this a run. Or something equally exciting. You could run Mr. Pete's nuts and bolts engine just to prove that it actually works. Which sort of it works, yeah. What colour for the 14? For the 400? Excellent, excellent. Very controversial and well thought out question, John. Something that's Edwardian and not green. There we go. Within reason. And something practical. White's not practical. This thing's going to get dirty. So Edwardian, not green. That's the criteria. We could paint it dark red. Might be nice. I'm thinking chocolate brown with black stripes. Might be really nice. And I'm also thinking like a royal blue with pale blue stripes might be nice, but I haven't decided yet. Anyway, there we go. Love a bit of controversy, but it won't be green. Promise. Look, if you do a nice job, and here's the thing, and if you have a look on YouTube and have a look on Google, if you do a nice job of painting an engine and not slap happy crappy job, and you use colours that are sort of sympathetic to each other, anything's going to look nice. Like seriously, anything's going to look amazing. That's my theory. So I could paint this pink and I think it would be great, but I'm thinking towards chocolate brown at the moment or dark blue. That's where I'm at. But it's not going to be green. We might run some gold stripes on it, but we'll see. Mike's right. You can't keep that color clean. It's not practical. And I just put the white on for contrast so I can video it, so it's pretty useful and you can see where the bits have been chopped off. So it could be dark blue. We had a poll on this and everyone voted green. I put a poll on Patreon and those guys all voted and the majority voted green. So that's what we got. But I'm not going to make that mistake again because it's not going to be green. Too many green things in this world. But probably it's going to be chocolate brown and black pinstripe and nice with a fine red stripe. Don't know. Long time back. Black would be sensible, but it's too hard to video. So, got to think about that. But I'm thinking, at this point, I think chocolate brown. Don't know. Dry bands. These spring-loaded bands, it's a Mammon band. It comes in a length and you just thread them together and chop them to length. I'll cover that in a video, probably the next one, I think it is. We're up to sort of finishing the engine. These little Mammon drive belts are pretty cheap and you can just buy them and they work nicely. This has got a bit more weight than I would like. It moves under its own steam, but it sort of wants running in a bit first, and now it does. Cam's got it. Pullman Brown, that's it exactly. So yeah, it's the same drive belt. You buy it in a length and you just put it round and thread it together. But anyway, so it's not too small to scroll. We've got a lining pen and a few things like that. I reckon we could run a. I don't think we'd go over the top, but I think we could run a pinstripe around it without any problems. Yeah, if you've got a big oil seal, that's a good idea. Anyway, that's what's been happening in my workshop. Sounds like everyone else is busy as well. It's really starting to warm up here for summer. It's getting pretty hot. Found that here in the workshop this weekend I was sort of starting to feel like a cold shower wouldn't have hurt. So summer's coming, feeling a bit more motivated. We're going to get some progress on all these things and all the other projects that we've got happening as well. There's a million things to do. Yep, 33 tomorrow. It looks like everyone's escaped the bushfires for this year a little bit in California. So Patton's on the way to Good of the Land Fest. Check out Justin's channel. Good of the Land is a restoration channel. He's a great guy, very enthusiastic, good fun. Really enjoy spending time with him and enjoy watching his videos. Also check out Clark Eastling's video. Probably will come up on casting the anvil. That's all ready to go. What else? All you guys are making pretty awesome videos, so that's great. There's a few exceptions, but you should be. Some great content. JB put a video up last week on foreign exchange trading. I'm going to go out and say that probably no one watched that video because everyone's like, yeah, it's a scam. I'm not going to watch that. Yeah, not really interested. But the warnings he put in there and the heads up about it and basically the please don't do this thing. It's a video that's cautionary tales, really worth watching. So pretty good video. Thanks, JB. And you should go and check it out. If you haven't seen it, it was a pretty good video. And I think he's right on the money. If you're going to gamble, buy me tools. At least you'll see videos. Don't put it into Forex trading. Hey, Scott. Good to see you. Love to the family. It wasn't about beer. That's right. So anyway, I'm not sure it got a lot of coverage or anyone really watched it, but I went back and watched it. It's JB, but it was a good video. Everyone's got family like that, JB. Anyway, I'm going to probably call this. It's getting a bit long. Thanks heaps, everyone, and all my new subscribers. Huge thanks for looking there. 5420, which is awesome. I'm catching John Creasy, and that's all I want to do. Do that. I'm going to close down the channel. Getting there. Don't go and subscribe to John. No, absolutely go and subscribe to John. He might make another video one day. And apart from that, not sure there's much else happening. I believe there's new stickers on the way for next week. We'll have a look at those. There'll be some progress on this week, and we might give one of these engines a run next weekend. So there we go. And yeah, I'm out. Be kind to each other.